Researcher James Odumbo has worked in northeast South Africa for 11 years, his scientific roots deeply embedded in the region's most prominent reserves. He has witnessed buffalo kills, coalition invasions, and lion infanticide, events that would keep any ordinary observer awake at night. But on the morning of September 8th, upon finding the body of a leopard at the edge of the Elkin watering hole, he stood paralyzed. He knew a legendary pursuit had come to an end. The leopard was L14, a 60 kilos adult male of pure vigor and agility. He was a Savanna veteran who survived for years by knowing exactly when to flee and when to hide. James had monitored him for 3 years and considered him an exceptionally skilled animal. Upon observing the body, the researcher noticed a crushed trachea. The marks on the throat were unmistakable, the teeth of a larger feline. This wasn't a standard kill. It was the result of inconsolable fury. A vengeful lioness had been stalking this animal for days. She didn't kill him for food. She killed him for revenge. In the distance, the silhouette of the lioness rested, indifferent to the fact that she was the perpetrator. The question haunting Odumbo was, why did a solitary, emaciated and wounded lioness cross 17 km in 7 days, ignoring every easy prey along the way, to find him specifically? What he didn't yet know was that this lioness, named Nazerian, had been destroyed from within long before any enemy claw touched her. Nazerian, which in the Ma dialect means the one blessed by peace, belonged to a stable pride in a prime territory. Her nightmare began with the arrival of 2 nomadic males. In less than a week, territorial warfare liquidated the pride's only protective male. What followed was the cruel protocol of lion biology: infanticide. New dominant males kill the offspring of their rivals to force the females back into heat. The other lionesses yielded to the mathematics of survival, but Nazerian had a single surviving cub and chose to flee. She abandoned the safety of the pride and disappeared into the open plains. The life of a solitary nomadic lioness is a death sentence. No help hunting, no protection against hyenas, and a permanent state of alert and caloric deficit. Still, James located her 6 weeks later. The cub was in surprisingly good condition. He was a statistical miracle and the only reason Nazerian still fought to wake up every morning. After 3 days without a successful hunt, Nazerian was forced by biology to seek an antelope 2 kilometers away. She hid her cub in a familiar rock outcrop, just 1 kilometers away from the territory of the male leopard L14. The leopard was a master of invisibility, always moving along the edges of lion territories to avoid confrontation. On that day, either chance or pressure from hyenas pushed the leopard off his usual route. L14 saw the lioness move away, but the cub never saw the leopard arrive. Death was swift. The cold calculation of a predator eliminating a future 150-kilo competitor before it could become a real threat. Nazerian returned with fresh meat, but upon smelling the intruder and seeing the blood at the hiding spot, she dropped her prey. She did not roar. Her silence was the prelude to an unshakable decision. Nature expected the instinct of survival to prevail, that she would eat, recover her strength, and follow the flow of the savanna. But Nazerian broke the protocol. She tracked the leopard to the north, moving with a disturbing economy of movement. On the second day, she located him at the top of a tall acacia tree. Nazerian could not climb it, so she lay at the base and waited. The sun was merciless. L14 had protection, but he had no water. For hours the leopard met Nazerian's amber eyes, fixed on him with the stillness of a stone. On the 3rd night, he attempted a stealthy move, leaping between branches and disappearing into the darkness. At dawn, the lioness resumed the trail, thin and dehydrated. It was then that James noticed something outside the behavioural pattern. She stopped following the scent and marched in a straight line to the west. She was no longer tracking the leopard. She was anticipating his destination. Nazerian headed for an isolated watering hole, the only place where the leopard could drink without encountering other lions. She flattened herself against the low grass just 7 meters from the water's edge and waited. When L14 arrived in the early morning hours and lowered his head to drink, Nazerian exploded from the vegetation. The physics were simple and devastating. 140 kilo against 60 kilos. The lioness's jaw locked onto the leopard's trachea. CL14 did not suffer long, a mercy he had not granted to Nazerian's cub. When the adrenaline faded, what remained was a panting lioness, her snout cut by the claws the leopard managed to strike in reflex, limping heavily from a severed tendon. The detail that disturbed James most was that Nazerian, despite being in a severe caloric deficit, did not touch the carcass. She simply drank water and walked away, disappearing into the open plains. Nazerian likely lost her life to hyenas, or her own debilitating injuries shortly after. Nature does not build moral narratives, it simply applies pressure. What Nazerian did exists outside traditional scientific logic. It wasn't just instinct, it was a persistence that crossed the boundaries of expected behavior. She found the leopard and closed the cycle that life had opened in the cruelest way possible.